I welcome you all to today's maths session. I am Madhuri Mangle from LK Wagji MPS Secondary School, Matunga, and we will be doing revision on the topic quadrilaterals. Please be very attentive. We will do a quick recap and then there will be a quiz. So the type of quadrilaterals that we are looking at in class 9th are parallelogram, trapezoid, rectangle, rhombus, and square. So the very basic definition of a quadrilateral, how do we identify if that is a quadrilateral? It's by the fact that any closed figure which has 4 sides and 4 angles, that is a quadrilateral. And then they are classified as parallelograms or trapezoid. Parallelogram will have opposite sides to be equal and parallel, whereas a trapezoid will have only one pair of parallel sides. For a parallelogram, it has 2 pairs of parallel sides. Then we see that parallelograms can be further classified as rectangle, square, and rhombus. So rectangle is a special figure with all 4 right angles and the opposite sides are equal. Whereas a rhombus, it has all 4 sides equal, right? And then a special form square, it has all sides to be equal and all angles are right angles, 90 degree. Okay. And then we will look at the properties a little later. Let's now do a quick quiz. I will be sharing the quiz link in the chat box. Yes, everyone, please click on the link shared in the chat box. And once you click on the link, it will ask for a name. Enter your name with school name and hit enter. You will be here on the dashboard. Very good. I see Anurag, Samruddhi, Varsia, Nabila, Amit have joined. Vrunda, Shubhangi, very good everyone. This is a very basic quiz on quadrilaterals. So please go ahead and participate. You will really enjoy and you can always check how much you have followed on this topic. I'll wait for another 20 seconds and we'll start the quiz. In the chat box, there is the link to this quiz. Please click on the link, enter your name and hit enter. You will be here on the dashboard. Okay, 10 more seconds and we'll start. I'll repeat again. There is the link in the chat box. Click on the link, enter your name and you will be here on the dashboard for the quiz. Okay, let's get started. Marcia, well done. Aarti, superb, good job. Okay, Nabila Khan, doing great. Another 10 seconds and we will stop. Students, Rehan, Shubhangi, the person's name is XYZ. I am not sure on the name. Okay, well done, everyone. Thank you for trying this out. Let's quickly see what were the questions for those who couldn't join. Let's quickly look at the questions. So the first question was, a quadrilateral has dash sides. So a quadrilateral has 4 sides. Okay. Second question was, give the specific name for this quadrilateral. What is the name of this quadrilateral? It's a rhombus because all the sides are equal. So that's a rhombus. Third question, give the specific name for this quadrilateral. Clearly check all the sides are equal with all angles 90 degree. That's a square. Next, give the specific name for this quadrilateral. Opposite sides are equal. Look at the symbols very carefully. Opposite sides are equal and all the angles are 90 degree. This is a rectangle. Next, give the specific name for this quadrilateral. You can see only one pair of opposite sides are equal. Only one pair of opposite sides are equal. This is clearly a trapezoid. Okay. Which shape is not an example of parallelogram? So remember the chart that we saw, which is not a parallelogram. So check rectangle, rhombus, square, all 3 of them are parallelograms. The one which is not is a trapezoid. So among the choices, you could see clearly, first one is not a parallelogram. That's a trapezoid. And I see 24 of you have given the right answer. Well done. Next, which shape is not an example of a quadrilateral? It's not a quadrilateral. Okay. So it won't have 4 sides. Any figure without 4 sides is not a quadrilateral. So first one is a quadrilateral. Second, yes, 4 sides. Third, yes, 4 sides. Fourth one, it's a triangle. It's not a quadrilateral. It is a triangle because it has 3 sides. So it's not a quadrilateral. The correct answer was triangle. Okay, these were the questions on the quiz. Now let's continue with some properties. A quick revision on all the properties that we have in this lesson. So the first property is adjacent angles of a parallelogram are supplementary. Supplementary, what is the meaning of supplementary? When the sum of angles is 180 degree, we say that is supplementary. And adjacent means the neighboring angles. Okay, the neighboring angles, they are called as adjacent angles. So here A is adjacent to B, A is adjacent to D, D is adjacent to C, and likewise C is adjacent to B. So sum of these angles is 180 degree. Supplementary angles is the sum is 180 degree. Next property, opposite sides of a parallelogram are congruent. So opposite sides, if I say PQ is one side, the opposite side is SR. So PQ is equal to SR. Likewise, PS is equal to QR, opposite sides. Okay. Opposite angles are congruent. Opposite angles are these ones. If we consider P, then the opposite angle is angle R. Angle S is equal to angle Q. And then the fourth rule, the fourth property is that the diagonals of a parallelogram bisect each other. You can see here this, if the total length of PR is 10, then it will bisect. That means it will become exactly half, 5 and 5 like this. Okay. And this point is the midpoint for both the diagonals. So diagonals of a parallelogram, they bisect each other. The next set of properties are, how do we identify if a given quadrilateral is a parallelogram? So a given quadrilateral is a parallelogram if it has opposite angles to be congruent, if it has the opposite sides to be congruent, if the diagonals bisect each other. Okay, these are the 4 rules. If we are given a shape and we are asked to prove that this is a quadrilateral, this is a parallelogram, we have to use any one of these 4 properties. If the opposite angles are congruent, that is a parallelogram. If the opposite sides are congruent, that's a parallelogram. If the diagonals are bisecting each other, then yes, it's a parallelogram. And finally, a very important property, we use this one most of the time. It is that if a pair of opposite side is parallel and congruent both, it's parallel and congruent both, then that is a parallelogram. Okay, these are called as the tests of parallelogram. If any of these 4 tests is true, then that will be a parallelogram. Okay. Next we see, so these are the 4 properties because of which the quadrilateral will be a parallelogram. You can always remember the shapes, you can always remember the images, and with that it will be very easy for you to recall it during your exams. So if the opposite sides are congruent, opposite angles are congruent, if the diagonals are bisecting each other, and lastly, the important one, if pair of opposite side is parallel and congruent both, only one pair. Okay, you can look at the diagram. I have marked only one pair, which is opposite and equal both, which is parallel and equal both. Just check, students, this arrows is the meaning that the lines are parallel. This symbol, it means that these 2 sides are equal. Okay. Let us look at some properties based strictly on diagonals. So when I say a rectangle will have what property? What will be the speciality of the diagonals? Okay, only the diagonals. So remember, for a rectangle, the diagonals are always congruent. Okay, for a rectangle, the diagonals are always congruent. For a rhombus, the diagonals are the diagonals bisect pair of opposite angles and they are perpendicular bisectors of each other. Now, what is the meaning of this? Perpendicular bisectors of each other, that means if I draw diagonals like this, they will hit each other at 90 degrees and they are bisectors. They break each other into 2 equal halves. Okay, that is the speciality of the diagonals of a rhombus. They bisect each other and they are perpendicular. That means here you could see this is a 90 degree. The first property, the diagonals, they bisect the opposite angles. Bisecting opposite angles. Bisect means to break into 2 equal parts. So suppose if this angle is 95 degrees or say 94 degrees, it will break it into 2 equal halves, 27 and 27. Okay, like that. Next, check for a square. There are 3 properties for a square. 3 properties of diagonals. The diagonals are congruent, they bisect the opposite angles and they are perpendicular bisectors of each other. Okay, so for a rectangle, there is only one speciality about the diagonals. For a rhombus, there are 2 properties, and for square, it is a combination of both rectangle and rhombus. Okay, if a figure has all 3 properties of the diagonals, then that is a square. Okay, just by knowing the properties of diagonals, we can tell which figure it is. Okay, so if it is given that the diagonals are congruent, then automatically you should say yes, that's a rectangle. If it is given that the diagonals are congruent, they are bisecting the opposite angles, they are perpendicular bisectors of each other, then clearly which shape it is? That's a square. Okay, so please remember, memorize the properties of diagonals. Next, we look at the properties of trapezium. So the first important point about trapezium is that only one pair of opposite sides is parallel. Okay, and then the second thing, what is an isosceles trapezium? If these two sides, the non-parallel sides, if these two sides are equal, then that is an isosceles trapezium. Next, a very important theorem of midpoints of two sides of a triangle. Okay, let me read out the statement for you. The segment joining midpoints of any two sides of a triangle is parallel to the third side and half of it. Okay, so check if you are given that P is a midpoint, Q is a midpoint, okay, and this PQ is being joined. Okay, so the segment which is joining these midpoints, this is always parallel to the third side. So these two sides are parallel and PQ will be half of BC. Okay, so if it is given that BC is 10, then PQ will be half of it, 5. So these are the 2 points that you have to remember. If the points are midpoints, then the sides, these two sides will be parallel and PQ will be half of BC. And then the converse of midpoint theorem, that if a line is drawn through the midpoint of one side, remember, only one side. If the line is drawn through the midpoint of one side of a triangle and parallel to the other side, then it bisects the third side. Okay, so let's say in this case, if D is the midpoint, okay, if D is the midpoint and DE is parallel to BC, then what? Okay, so two things are given. One is D is the midpoint and DE is parallel to BC. Then what can we say? Then E is the midpoint. So anywhere, if the question is prove that this is the midpoint of the side, then you have to use this theorem. Anywhere, if you are asked to prove that a point is a midpoint of the side, then we use this theorem, converse of midpoint theorem. Already you will be given one midpoint and you will be given that the sides are parallel. Then we can say that the other point, this E point, is the midpoint. Okay. If you remember all the properties, then it will be really very easy for you to do the application, okay, to apply them, because there are really few questions are very easy questions, and you just need to know the properties. If you know the properties, you can easily solve the questions. Okay, so there are two type of questions. One will be the numerical methods and the other will be the proofs. Okay, like if you see the first question here on the board, this is a numerical question. It is involved with numbers, right? The second is also a numerical question. The third one here is prove that. So for prove that, we write statements, correct? So there are two type of questions involved, and yes, the numerical ones are the simplest ones. Let's get started with the first question. I request all of you to please use book and pen to solve the problems with me. At least give a try. When I say you should try the remaining part, you should quickly give a try. Okay, so let's get started with the first question. Always write out what is given, to prove or to find, and then the solution. Okay, and then the solution. This should be the format of all your answers in geometry. Okay, before all this, on the left hand side, on the right hand side, using just 3 to 4 lines, you should draw the diagram. Diagrams are really important. Okay, so check. The question says PQRS is a parallelogram. So for this, you would draw a parallelogram like this. Okay, it's PQRS, so you can name it like this, PQRS. The letters have to be in order. Okay, and then mark everything whichever is given. So PQ is 3.5, mention this is 3.5, PS is 5.3, mention this is 5.3, angle Q is 50 degrees, label it as 50 degrees over here. Find the lengths of remaining sides. Which are the remaining sides? It is SR, and then RQ. So we have to find these two remaining sides and the remaining angles. Which are the remaining angles? Check. We are given this angle to be 50. We need to find what is angle P, S, and R. So we are asked to find angle P, angle S, and angle R. Okay, this is to find. And what is given? We are given that PQ equals to 3.5. We are given that PS equals to 5.3. And we are given that angle Q equals to 50 degree. Okay, so you should always start with drawing the diagram and then what is given to find and the final solution thing. Okay, now what property can help us here? How do we find the angles, the remaining angles? There are three angles here. So we know the property for a parallelogram that the adjacent angles, the sum of adjacent angle is 180 degree. So with that, we start the solution. You can say that PQRS is a parallelogram. First mention that it's a parallelogram. This is given. PQRS is a parallelogram. Therefore, what? Therefore, okay, so PQRS is a parallelogram and then sum of adjacent sides. Therefore, sum of adjacent sides. Sorry, we are going to look at the angles. So sum of adjacent angles is 180 degree. Now, which is the adjacent angle to Q? It is R. Okay, you can also use P with Q. So angle Q plus angle R, that is equal to 180 degrees, right? And now you substitute angle Q is 50 degrees plus angle R as it is. This is equal to 180 degrees, okay? And then we have to bring R by itself. So shift 50 to the other side. So we get angle R equals to 180 minus 50, which is equal to 130 degrees. So we have got angle R equals to 130 degrees over here. This is 130 degrees. So we have used one property. Now let's use one more property. We know that opposite angles of a parallelogram are equal. So write out the statement: opposite angles of parallelogram are equal. Therefore, what are the opposite angles? Angle S is equal to angle Q, which is equal to 50 degrees. Likewise, angle P is equal to the opposite angle. For P, the opposite angle is R. So angle P is equal to angle R, which is equal to 130 degrees. So check everyone. We have found P, we have found S, and we have found R. Okay, using two properties. Now we have to find what is SR and what is RQ. Since this is a parallelogram, we all know the special property for the sides of a parallelogram, right? That opposite sides of a parallelogram are equal. Okay. So here I'll mention the third part over here. We know that opposite sides of a parallelogram are equal. That's the symbol of parallelogram, are equal. So therefore, which are the opposite side, students? Check. For PQ, the opposite side is SR. So SR is equal to PQ, which is equal to 3.5. And likewise, for QR, the opposite side is PS. So QR is equal to PS, which is equal to 5.3. That completes the solution. Okay. We have used how many properties? Three properties. The first one was adjacent angles. The sum of adjacent angles is 180 degree. The opposite angles of a parallelogram are equal. And finally, opposite sides of a parallelogram are equal. Okay. Let's look at the next question. Here we are given that ABCD is a parallelogram. Angle A is given to be 4x plus 13. Angle D is given to be 5x minus 22. We are asked to find angle B and angle C. Let's start with drawing out a diagram. How would you draw that? Just draw a parallelogram like this. Label it A, B, C, D. What is angle A? It is given to be 4x plus 13. What is angle D? It is given to be 5x minus 22. Correct? And then we write out what is given to find and then the solution. So what are we given? That angle A equals to 4x plus 13. Okay, that's 4x plus 13. Angle D is 5x minus 22. To find, what are we asked to find? We are asked to find angle B and angle C, and then we start with solution like that. Okay, everyone? This is how you should start. Now think which property can we use here? So when we are given these expressions, we try to set up an equation, okay? And solving the equation, we can find the value of x. So these two are adjacent angles. And what do we know about the adjacent angles? The sum of adjacent angles is 180 degree, correct? So using that, we can set up an equation. And solving the equation, we will get the value of x. Once we have the value of x, we can just replace this x with that value and find out what is angle D, what is angle A. Okay, let's do that. So we start with writing the statement. First thing, that quadrilateral ABCD is what? It is a parallelogram. And therefore what? Okay, yeah. So ABCD is a parallelogram. Therefore, what can we say? The adjacent angles, that is the neighboring angles, are supplementary. What do you mean by supplementary? That the sum is 180 degrees. Therefore, angle A plus angle D equals to 180 degrees. Now, quickly, everyone try to write out the equation. Once you know this property, you can quickly write the equation and solve to find the value of x. Okay, so here is your task. I'll give you 30 seconds. Write out the equation at least. Okay, write out the equation. Yeah, anybody from the participants, do you want to try? What will be the equation? Quickly raise your hand. Yes, students, what will be the equation? We just have to plug in the expressions for angle A and angle D. Yeah, let me help you out with that. So what is angle A? Angle A is 4x plus 13. What is angle D? Angle D is 5x minus 22, and that is equal to 180 degrees, right? So this is the equation. Once you have the equation, you have to simplify, you have to solve it. So how do we solve it? Check. We are going to combine the like terms. Which are the like terms? So 3x and 5x, they are the like terms. So what is 4 plus 5x? That is the 9x. And then 13 minus 22. 13 minus 22, that would give us a negative 9. Okay, sign of greater number. 22 is greater, so minus 9, and this is equal to 180 degrees. Okay, now next is we have to solve for x. So get rid of this negative 9, that will be a positive 9. So 9x equals to 189, and x will be what? Shift this 9 to other side. 189 divided by 9. 189 divided by 9 is, come on, quickly divide and check. that will be equal to 21. Okay, I hope you all are getting the answers. Simple divisions, right? So x equals to 21. Once you have that, the next step will be to find this complete, the value of this complete expression. So we see that angle D is 5x minus 22. Replace the x here. Okay, so what is the x? 5 times x is 21 minus 22. Okay, so now solve. 5 times 21, that will be 105 minus 22. And what do we get? That will be 83. So we got angle D equals to 83 degrees. Okay. And next we find what is angle A. So angle A equals to 4x minus plus 13. 4 times x, that is 21 plus 13. Now you just have to solve this quickly. Everyone, give it a try. If anyone has the answer, you can just raise your hand. Yes, Rehan.
7 degree.
Okay, nice try. Nice try. Could you repeat that, Rehan? Okay, so check. 4 times 21, that is 84, plus 13, that gives us 97 degrees. Okay, angle A is 97 degrees. And now we have to find the angles B and C. Always keep an eye on what is asked to find. So we have to find B and C, but we got angle D and angle A. So using these two angles, we have to find B and C. What property comes to your mind for B and C? Check opposite angles. We know that the opposite angles of a parallelogram, they are always equal. So using this property, opposite angles of parallelogram are equal. Since the opposite angles are equal, we can say that angle C is equal to angle A and angle B is equal to angle D. What is angle A? 97 degrees. Angle D was 83 degrees. And therefore we got angle C equals to 97 and angle B equals to 83. That completes the solution. Okay, don't forget to put the degree symbol. Okay, and always box out the answer. That's how we solve this problem using the properties that the adjacent angles are supplementary and opposite angles, they are equal to each other. Let's look at next question. Yes. So for this one, the question says PQRS is a parallelogram. M is the midpoint of side PQ and N is the midpoint of side RS. We have to prove that PMS and MQRN are parallelograms. Okay, so first we start with drawing out a diagram for this. So check, I have drawn PQRS here, and then M is the midpoint and N is the midpoint. So you can always label this. M is the midpoint. So PM is equals to MQ and likewise N is the midpoint. So SN is equals to NR. Okay. So let's write out what is given. We are given that PQRS is a parallelogram. And also we are given that M and N are midpoints. Okay. What are we asked to prove? So to prove that PMNS and quadrilateral MQRN are parallelograms. Okay, we have to prove that. Let's start with the solution. Okay, so what property do we use here to prove that it's a parallelogram, right? Let's quickly look at the properties that we had. Yeah, this property. How can we prove that a given quadrilateral is a parallelogram? The best property was this one, the fourth property. If we prove that opposite pair is parallel and if the opposite pair is parallel and equal, both, it is parallel and congruent, then we can say that yes, the given figure is a parallelogram. So let's look at the question. We have to prove that PMNS is a parallelogram. Okay, let me quickly highlight PMNS. Check. This is PMNS, and we have to prove that the opposite sides are equal and parallel. Okay, only one pair. We have to consider only one pair. So which is the correct pair, students? The correct pair will be PM and SN. Why so? Because we are given that these two sides are parallel. We are given that these two sides are, the midpoints are over here. So we can use the midpoints to prove that PM is equal to SN. Okay, so we are going to prove that PM and SN, they are equal and parallel. Therefore, this will be a parallelogram. Okay, let's write it out. So we know that quadrilateral PQRS is a parallelogram. Therefore, what can we say? Therefore, PQ is parallel to RS and PQ is also equal to RS. Correct? Maybe I can just write it over here. This is the property of a parallelogram. The opposite sides are parallel and equal. Okay? And equal. Now, we can see that if PQ is parallel to SR, then the half parts will also be parallel, correct? If PQ is parallel to SR, then PM will also be parallel to SN. So therefore, we can say that PM is parallel to SN. And likewise, if PQ is congruent to RS, then half of PQ will also be congruent to half of RS, correct? And therefore we get here what is half of PQ? Half of PQ is PM. And what is half of RS? Half of RS is SN. Okay, so what have we got here? That PM is parallel to SN and PM is congruent to SN. So here we can just write out how these are parallel, because it is PMQ. They are, they are these points, they are collinear. Likewise, S and R. Okay, and here these two are equal because halves will be equal, and we can mention that M and N are midpoints. Since they are midpoints, those two sides will be also equal. So therefore, we are considering equal halves. Okay, now, okay, yeah. So just a minute, let me make some room. Yeah. So we have got that PM is parallel to SN and PM is congruent to SN. Two opposite sides, one single pair is parallel and congruent. Therefore, the quadrilateral PMNS is a parallelogram. Okay, because if for any quadrilateral, one pair is parallel and congruent, then that is a parallelogram. Okay, that's how we prove it. And of course, using this property, the way we have solved it now, we can say that MQRN is also a parallelogram. So how do we write it out? Just state similarly, this is the other one is also a parallelogram. Okay, that's how we write it out. Similarly, we can prove that quadrilateral MQRN is a parallelogram. Okay, everyone, very easy. Just in 4 steps, we are able to solve this. This problem can be asked for 3 marks. Okay, let's look at one more question. Now, notice the number of boxes There are 6 boxes over here. So this question will be for 3 marks and each box carries half mark. Okay, let's look at the solution. Let's look at the solution. Points D and E are midpoints of side AB and side AC. So if you concentrate, side AB and side AC, this is side AB, D is the midpoint, likewise E is the midpoint for the side AC. Okay, point F is a ray such that ED is equal to DF. Please check. You can just highlight it over here that these two sides, they are equal because E is the midpoint. Prove that AFBE. Let's highlight AFBE. Yeah, we have to prove that this is a parallelogram. Okay. So you just need to fill in the boxes, not the given and to prove part. So let's check. We have to prove that this is a parallelogram, AFBE. Okay, segment AB and segment EF are dash of the quadrilateral AFBE. So check, students, AB and EF. AB is this side. Okay, let me draw. AB is this side and EF is this side. What are they of the quadrilateral AFBE? They are the diagonals, correct? So for this box, we write that they are the diagonals. AD is congruent to DB. Check. AD is congruent to DB. Clearly, AD is this part. AD is this part and DB is this part. How these two are equal? What is the reason? Because D is the midpoint, correct? So what is the reason? D is the midpoint. See how easy the answer is. Segment box and the other one, they are congruent by construction. So look at the question. This was the construction. Point F is a ray on ED such that ED is equal to DF. Okay, so ED and DF, this is by construction. So you write here segment ED and segment DF, they are by construction. Diagonals of quadrilateral AFBE dash each other. Okay, dash each other. So check, these two sides, these two are equal, and likewise these two are equal. What can we say? The diagonals, they are breaking each other into two equal parts. What does that mean? What is that word? The word is bisect. Bisect means breaking each other into two equal halves. So diagonals of the quadrilateral AFBE, they bisect each other, and therefore we can say that AFBE is a parallelogram by which test? Check, everyone, look at the slide once again. So we are using this property to prove that the quadrilateral is a parallelogram. And what is this called as? This is called as the test of parallelogram. Okay. So the last box will be by test of parallelogram. Okay, I hope you all understand this part. 6 boxes for 3 marks. Each box carries half mark. Okay, with that we complete this solution and it's time. Since we are running out of time, we stop here. Okay, we will be doing some more questions in tomorrow's class.